My name is Henrik Rexed and I will be the chef of this cooking session. Today we're gonna cook mobile testing, but we're not going to see how to do that today. We're gonna focus on one single topic of this recipe, which is network virtualization. So for this cooking session you will need not a banana, you will need a mobile device. So that's my mobile device. And you need NeoLoad as well, and you will need also something to measure the temperature. Here I will use the temperature measurement, but it will be a latency measurement for that. So that will be required. So why do we need to measure latency in mobile testing? That's a good question. So basically, our users, they are using mobile devices with different quality of network. 3G, 4G, Wi-Fi sometimes. And depending on the carrier, you basically have a cheap carrier, are the most known carrier of the market. If you have a cheap carrier, there's a big chance that they are boarding lines on the biggest carrier of the market. So those users will probably have bigger latencies. So what is latency in fact? What is that? Latency is the time to travel one packet on a network to one point to the infrastructure environment, to the application environment. So if, for example, let's say that I would like to go to google.com, that could be hosted in Paris, in my case. So first I will take like a network packet, I will take my car parked outside, and I will get to a parking lot, so that's the first bound. Then I will get into a train or a plane, depending on the budget they have, depending on carry. And then, of course, I will arrive in Paris and do some stops to reach the final building. And that's the latency. Depending on which train, plane, or if I have more stops, it will take more or less time. So let's say that my mobile device here, my banana, has measured 19 milliseconds of latency. 19 milliseconds, it's nothing. Yeah, maybe, that's true. But if you take the HTTP protocol 1.2, you will see that when I send a question, a request, basically I will introduce those 19 milliseconds 4 to 6 times. And same thing when I get back the response from the application. So that's a challenging thing, because 19 milliseconds could be 4 seconds more than my colleague here having a nice 4G carry and mobile device. So we need to make sure that we're cooking good apps to our customers. So we need to test the behavior of our application when we apply this network condition. Because we want to measure user experience, of course, and see the impact on our environment. Slower users are consuming more concurrent sessions, while you have user that goes very fast on your network. So let's see how to configure everything. So like mentioned, you will capture, measure the network constraints of a user from his location. That's the step number 1. And step number 2, I will show you how to configure those network constraints into NeoLoad. Alright, so let's go to step number 1.
So step 1, how do I record the network constraints of a mobile user? So here, as you can see, I'm using my mobile and I want to measure, for example, the network constraint of user located nearby my area utilizing the carrier orange, utilizing the carriage orange 3G. So to do that, I'm not going to use any tools such as NPerf, for example. Those are very good to measure the quality of your Wi-Fi or of your carry in terms of upload, download on different type of content. And this is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for latency, packet loss, and so on. So the perfect tool to achieve that is this one. It's called Network Catcher Express. It's available on the Apple Store for iOS, but also on Google Play. And it's provided by Shunra. So Shunra since has been bought by a big company. But here, the advantage here is you can create a test, and what we want here is to measure the time spent to one location to another. So my place to, for example, neotys.fr. So to do that, I'm going to select a destination. So destination, what is it? It's a host name, or it's the main name. So here neotys.fr. So I'm going to click on this, and then from there, network catcher is going to proceed to some tests, sending packets over the network through 3G, because here I'm connecting 3G. So it's very interesting. So I will be able to see here in the top here and the metrics in the top, the KPIs related to the bandwidth, and this will be required to define the settings of NeoLoad. But what I'm more interested in, see here, step number 2, he went there. So he's measured first the bandwidth, and then he's going there to step number 2 to the latency. So now he's measuring with my 3G network. I have 53 milliseconds of latency between my location and the data center of which is hosting our websites. And then he will do he's redoing the test a couple of times, so he can at least make sure that what we've measured so far is representative. So the other KPI, which is also interesting, is the packet loss, which is the last one, which is based on 0 here. And this is also something that I'm looking for. So now he's redoing the test on latency. So at the end, Network Catcher will provide a report. So showing you the average latency, the average bandwidth, the packet loss, and all this stuff. And this is basically what I'm going to look. So here, easy, I'm the single user, but it's not representative for load tests. As you can imagine, if you have thousands of users based on 4 or 5 geos, you will need to do the similar job from the main cities of your customers. So if I know that most of the customers that we have are based in Germany, in the UK, or somewhere else, yeah, at least in EMEA, then I will do that measurement with the help of a colleague, for example, with the same tool, but with the help of a colleague to measure that. So that's, for example, the type of report that you're getting from a network catcher. So minimum, average, max, latency, and packet we had 0. So that's wonderful. And this is basically what I'm wants here. I want to get those metrics for each main locations and the main carrier as well, because if I switch carrier, I probably won't have the same latency. And this is what you want. You want to fish for this information, because in step number 2, we will use those metrics here that we have, 53, 5.2, and 0, to define the 3G profile of a user located on my area. All right, so we got the numbers. So let's go to step number 2, where we define the one emulation within NeoLoad. Step number 2, how do I configure NeoLoad to add the network constraint that we have captured with the help of Network Catcher? So let's open an existing project, the Neotys website. So here, of course, I have already prepared a use case. I'm not going to show you how to record it. That's not the purpose of this session. So basically, we have a user journey that go to our website, select one of the product NeoLoad, and look at the price list. Here, this particular project is people are reaching neotys.fr and not neotys.com. So it's going to be only French users, French population. So let's define the different type of users with the different type of network conditions. And here it's a website, so I could also play with the type of client. So I could pretend that this user is not a browser user, but an iPad or an iPhone or whatever it is. So I'm going to look at this on the tab just here, population. I'm going to create a new fresh population. So let's call it French. Friends. Here it is. And we have this one single user. So here first I'm going to define the 20% of the population comes from my location. So we've seen that during the record we used an iPhone 4S. So I'm going to select that. And then I'm going to configure the option here, one emulation. And in the one emulation, remember we did a 3G connection. But here, like mentioned, I'm interested to see to add the latency from my location to reach the data center. So I'm going to add that. Remember, we had 53, 0% of packet loss, and 9.2. So I'm going to put that here. So first 53 milliseconds, like this. For I think it was 180 milli, like this. So we have it defined, and I'm gonna click OK. So here it's customized. We have suggested some average network profile, but like mentioned, depending on where you are, the latency will be, of course, totally different because the journey to travel one packet from Paris or from Marseille or from Lyon or whatever it is in France will be totally different because we won't have the same time to travel within the network. So I would suggest to customize every time the network profile. So here I've defined my network profile by customizing this. Then I did another record, so with another phone. So the phone is not the big thing, is from Paris directly. So here in Paris we had 35 milliseconds, which is quite good in fact, and the bandwidth was the same. And this will represent the Paris location. So I just erased my own population, so I'm going to do it right away. Sorry for doing this. And here, so 53, we mentioned that 53, and then we said 80, 50 kilobyte per second. Oh, sorry. Same thing up. Here it is. So now we have the people from the south of France, from Paris, and the rest will say that, okay, those users, they are connected to the Wi-Fi, so it's totally different. And they are going with a tablet, so here an iPad 3. And I can customize, of course, this Wi-Fi by including more or less latency. So here we will include 40 milliseconds in the latency. So here we have my population ready. So mixed of user based in the south of France, user based in Paris, and other users that are connected to the Wi-Fi on the central of France. So we have a mixed representative population ready. I could, of course, organize my population by locations or by network conditions. So just population is basically defining how you will apply the load. And then when we get to the runtime, a test, of course, requires one population, and this is where you're going to define how many users you're going to add on that specific population. So here we can imagine a ramp-up test starting with 50 users, and we're going to ramp up 100 users every, let's say, every 20 minutes. So you can imagine that kind of ramp-up easily. Of course, you have to define the duration. So now you've seen from the design section at the population tab here how to define the network constraints that you've measured with the help of network catcher. So just have to set those numbers in the population tab and then use them for your tests and see the results afterward. So step number 2 has been defined, and I hope you will be able to test realistically your mobile applications or your user having strong network constraints. I hope that cook session was useful, and next time we will see other topics.